Middlekauff! Hey! And a deep drive to left. Nico Horner, first home run of the day, John. Is that what everyone's talking about?
Opening day.
Oh, my God. I think been a hell of a Thursday recording this live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Like this, subscribe to it if you're on YouTube. If you're watching the podcast, we appreciate that. I think this has been an incredible sports day. Just Tiger as the main. Like, Tiger's been getting all the care. You know, Tiger's 5 yards every handoff. But then you had the Deebo story. We've got the Tom Brady story. This has been a real baseball, just some clips here and there. It's been a really good sports day.
Is baseball started?
Baseball, some of it has started. I've just seen some photos and this and that. It's been a nice little kind of, they just give me a couple minutes off the bench today.
Did Castellanos hit a home run today?
I don't know. I'm waiting to see.
No, he plays the A's tonight, right? Is it Phillies A's? Was that the game you said?
Phillies A's, yeah.
Phillies A's. Yeah, he's on the Phillies.
So good knowledge. I mean, this
Phillies
Tiger
are my
thing
team.
today,
Phillies are my team.
Phillies are your team. All right. This Tiger
Kinda
thing today, John, has been bananas.
Yeah, it was sweet. I really believe back to me the baseball, and I know the date's the date, but I don't like this April 7th first pitch. It's a little weird. Like it just kind of.
I mean, John, if Tiger wasn't playing today, I don't think it even. I mean, we'd still be watching the Masters. Don't get me wrong, but it would just feel like a sweet
destroys opening day. I just don't think most people under 50 even know baseball starting. That's part of the deal. It just starts, but I don't think like it. I didn't really know until yesterday, or you brought it up. Like today was the day.
Yeah.
It just comes out of nowhere. I mean, it always does, but every once in a while they do that random game in Japan, and then it's another 2 weeks till the start, and you're like, one team's 2-1 for 2 weeks.
Well, I don't understand why does baseball? It should start on Sunday Night Baseball every year.
That's my point. Exactly. Just have a fresh start.
Just like I always know the NFL season is going to start on a Thursday night. How about Sunday Night Baseball every year for the big leagues?
Well, exactly. Like the Masters starts, everyone tees off on Thursday. Like baseball, it's like, well, not everyone actually plays today. Some people play tomorrow. Like, can't we just get an even start with everybody? Like, can't we do that? Like,
I like half the league starting on one day and half the league starting on the next day. I don't want everybody starting on the same day.
But everyone plays tomorrow, right?
Well, does everybody? I mean, the years past, if you play on the first day, sometimes there's an off day, day two for the weather. Remember they built in that weather day?
And then you play again on Saturday?
And then you play again on Saturday. I haven't looked. I don't know if they're doing it that way this year. But
yeah. It's just a little clunky. Now, Manfred's feels a little clunky, but the whole thing is a little clunky.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, they could have had Barry Bonds announce his return today. It wouldn't have mattered.
No,
every shot. I watched every shot. You watched every shot. Everyone watched every shot.
Well, think about if Barry Bonds could have just like returned at 44, or Michael Jordan like legitimately like at 45 years old still come back and play for, I don't know, the Dallas Mavericks. Like it's got to be the most unique situation. The guy's 46 years old and he's still able to play, compete, and he's in the top 10 right now as we're recording this. He's 46. Like it's part of like the reason he's so famous is because he's 46 and he's been famous since he was 20, like really famous since he was 20. The sports fans, like diehards, have known about him since he was like 10. It's a long time in our life. Like ultimately, like Ken Griffey Jr., you just see a picture of him now, he's just chubby old guy. But if like Ken Griffey Jr., if he was an opening day starter, like he's making his comeback, fucking everyone would know that it was our age. We're like, I'm going to watch Ken Griffey Jr. take some ABs, right? That's kind of, but it's even bigger than that because he's even better than all these guys we're naming because he's won all these championships. It's only even possible in golf. Like it's not possible. I guess Brady's kind of doing it, right? At 46.
But he didn't Brady hasn't had severe leg. I mean, he had one. He hasn't just come off a car crash where he hasn't competed in 17 months.
Yeah, that adds to it.
Multiple back surgeries, right? Tiger's back was a story and was slowing him down before he got in a car crash.
Yeah,
and
remember
he just took 17 months, and he just rolled out and is in contention.
He wins
at the Masters.
Well, that's what people forget.
It's like coming back for the Super Bowl.
When he got in the car accident, he was injured, right?
He was not playing in that tournament.
It's been 17 months since he last played in a tournament.
17 isn't that?
Is that what you said? Well, it's been 14 months since the car crash, but he hadn't been playing before for a while, so it's been a long, like 14 months since the car crash. Well, he was injured before the car flipped because his back. Remember, he was shooting those videos with like David Spade and Dwayne Wade. He couldn't swing at the time. He was just going around with them.
Right.
Remember, his face was terrible. He was like, God, Tiger's in a bad spot, and now he's smiling and happy. He's so happy now.
Yeah, I think at one point it was the Colt Nost broadcast I was watching. They pointed out like, oh, you don't. I mean, and this has been happening, I think, in the last few years that you get some Tiger smiles, right? But I don't know, man. To me, it's the comeback combined with the fact that it's at Augusta. It'd be like nobody comes back for the Super Bowl at the Super Bowl, right? I mean, this isn't really the Super Bowl on the calendar, but it is the biggest event they play, the one where he's dominated.
Well, do you feel like he's a lock? Because I've seen people kind of just on the interweb, and I've on a couple text chains. Like, I don't think it's guaranteed we're getting all 4 majors with Tiger this year.
No, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, if this were pick another event, maybe he would have skipped it. Like, it felt like he came back for this event because he knew this was maybe the best one for him. But are you
confident, like, the PGA Championship in a month is at Southern Hills, which someone pointed out he's won before. The old course, St. Andrews, he's been on record saying it's his favorite golf course in the world. So
flat,
it's supposed to be flat.
Yeah.
And the U.S. Open is at like the Country Club, I think it's called. I think it's in Pennsylvania or something. But I wouldn't put like $1,000 that he's a lock to play all 3 of those. I think if you just told me he plays the Masters and the Open at St. Andrews, like I'd be like, yeah, it's believable. Honestly, how's he gonna? If you're listening to this on YouTube, like he's done playing, but if you're listening to this on Friday morning, are we sure he just wakes up feeling good tomorrow?
No,
that
no,
would be
but
my
that's
question.
How well he played Thursday is important, right? Because the question is like, how much worse can he play than he played Thursday and still make the cut? It's supposed to be windy.
But I wonder
Friday.
more about, like, to me, if he's erect and swinging, he can figure it out. Like, he just knows what he's doing. To me, there were a couple times a day where it's like, is he going to go down to a knee? But he kind of winced and he kind of shook it off really quick and just kept moving. By, like, Saturday, does the fusion met with the ankle? Like, is he just – I don't know.
I thought the first hole, I almost texted you in the first hole. Like, I don't feel good. I thought he looked a little uncomfortable on the first hole, but obviously I was wrong, or he got comfortable, whichever.
I gave him, he had a pretty bad shot on the first hole. He probably, even for him, had some juices flowing.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, just the place, I mean, there's a lot of fans of this place no matter what, but it felt a little bigger today for him.
It had to.
I think tomorrow is going to feel even double as big, right? Because he did well. So people are going to think like, I mean, as we're recording this right now, Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, and Sanjay are 4 under. He's 3 shots back. It's not like, he just figured out a way to get to 3 over today. It's like, no, he's 1 under, and he kind of flubbed a couple chips. I honestly was blown away. Like, he doesn't swing out of his shoes off the drive, so unless he hits a shitty drive, which he can now, for the most part, he's just hitting fairways, hitting greens, and just like, he's kind of just a slow plotter of a golfer now.
Yeah, I know. But it's kind of this, that's why I thought the shot that he hit from the, it's not Pine Straw, is it?
Yeah, they call it the Pine Straws.
When he did the big recoil.
There's nothing like a Tiger recoil.
It was so out of the norm of the day because everything he'd done for the day felt so controlled, and then that felt extra aggressive.
Yeah.
And that was cool. It was just classic Tiger. I mean, and the crowd, I love we've been to golf events. You start going, crowd's going crazy. You don't really know where the ball's going, but you're just happy that the guy hit the ball square,
I think the only way the legend could have grown even stronger on that shot with the recoil is if he looked at the camera, winked, and he said, "Watch this," or something. Because that recoil was very like 28-year-old Tiger did that 3 times around.
Yeah. Club flip. I'm listening to that Lakers book. The guy, the other point guard who's there before Magic. What's his name? Norm Nixon. One of the stories about Norm in college, wherever he went, like DePaul or Xavier or something like that. They're playing in this big game, and he looks at his coach and he winks at him. He's like, "I got you." Then he misses the game-winning free throw, and they lose.
I Googled Norm Nixon actually like the first episode because it's like I felt like I'd heard of him, but I didn't know much about him. I think he had made some All-Star teams. Like he was a pretty good player.
Good player.
Pretty good NBA player.
Yeah.
Felt like in the winning time in the actual show, once he put Magic with the ones and those two guys were running, like that practice, just in terms of the way they filmed it, doesn't the actor look like Magic kind of?
Looks so good. He honestly looks like Magic, looks a little like Shaq. Next time you watch, look at his eyes. He looks a little bit like Shaquille O'Neal.
You know the guy that plays Kareem in the show is a former Cal basketball player?
Yeah, somebody told me that.
Which makes sense. I mean, where do you find a 6'10" guy that like looks skilled? You know, it'd be such a hard guy to find.
Well, I got a buddy that went to Loyola Marymount. He told me there's a guy that in the basketball scenes, there's actually another guy that plays Magic. He's taller. He played at LMU, probably early, maybe mid-30s or something. Because Magic, the actor is not really tall enough in the basketball scenes to stand out. And he's not this guy, they got a former basketball player. So some of the Magic scenes, which I went back and watched some Magic YouTubes, and it's just, nobody like him since. It's just ridiculous, right? The greatest, some of his passes are outrageous. Just ridiculous.
Stupid.
So
it would have been hard as a Laker hater. I do not hate Shaq or Magic Johnson at all. I like both those two guys. Shaq, Magic Johnson, and honestly, the way everything ended with Kobe, and I like Kobe post-career a lot. And then, obviously, once he passes, I actually have grown to like him. LeBron, and Pow, I don't know, something about the Lakers. You know, a lot of people around here hate the Dodgers. I've honestly found the Dodgers, like, I've kind of liked a lot of their players over the years. I don't hate, and the Giants, for the first time ever, played them it's not like they have some rivalry that have equated to a lot of big moments, right? Because when the Giants were winning World Series,
Puig, Bumgarner, maybe.
Yeah, but I would say most of our adult life, they were never really good at the same time till last year.
Yeah.
Like last year was the first year they matched up, had a pretty epic 5-game series, and they struck the guy out when he didn't even swing. Or did he swing? He didn't swing. Yeah, he stopped.
They got away with it, whichever it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so, by the way, I just want to mention this, because I think you and I were talking about it. Masters.com is incredible. ESPN Plus is fantastic. Xfinity is a $220 billion company. You can't rewind 10 seconds if you stream Xfinity. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. Masters.com is unbelievable. Masters.com is like once a week they just flex. Yeah, we have one of the best streaming services on earth. And then they just go away for a year. And then they come back with Masters.com and it's fantastic. It's incredible. It's always crystal clear. The graphics are great. The broadcast is great. I see everything I need to see. It's amazing. Which one did you watch mostly?
I watched ESPN Plus. But I just because I've been watching golf on it, it was an easy transition. Forever I watched the Masters app, but yeah, the Xfinity app. I despise Xfinity as someone who's given them so much money over the last decade.
Same.
Honestly, do you know my bill right now? Last time I saw it, I refused to even call. I need to because you can always cut like $50. Was $310.
Yeah.
And it's become normalized, right?
Like because 3 boxes, some Wi-Fi.
You remember when like 150, 160, as you're kind of becoming an adult, was like, damn, I'm spending a lot. And then you kind of make that transition as you turn the corner. And we started doing a show. It's like, well, I need it. I need more boxes. You get over the $200 mark. You're like, this is kind of crazy. But then you just kind of become numb to the numbers.
Yeah.
And now it's like I'm at $300, and I'm also Hulu, Netflix, Apple Plus. Like, how much am I paying in services?
I know. I have 2 internets.
What are we doing?
Remember that day the Xfinity went out? The Niners playoff. Was it a playoff game? Or
yeah, it was
the Week 18 game.
It was the Rams game.
Was it the Week 18 game or the playoff game? Were you here for that? Yeah, I came to your house.
Over to my house for the NFC Championship. Yeah.
So that day, I was like, I got a second internet. I have 2 internets now. What I'm doing right now is on my show internet. You know,
we're all getting duped, just cutting huge money, and we don't even get great products.
I can't even be upset right now. The Tiger stream is just.
Well,
I'll be
that's
upset
why
next week.
I don't think you're allowed to complain anymore. Like we have so many options. You just kind of got it. It is what it is now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Nothing you can do.
Xfinity is going to become obsolete quick if they don't adapt. ESPN Plus is cash money. A buddy of mine texted me. He's like, "Hey, can I use your ESPN Plus?" I'm like, "I'm telling you, dude, it's $5. I promise you. The second you buy it, you won't think twice about it. I remember I got it only, this is back when a few years ago, I got it only for the Harding Park PGA Championship. I'm like, I just want to watch. And I just considered it $5 like a pay-per-view. Like it was unbelievable value.
Was the guy who texted you that employed?
Employed and extremely wealthy.
Yeah. See, to me, there gets to a point when you become an adult, like, if you need someone's code, I don't know, let's say, a dude's a CEO like Travis Matthews. Like, hey, man, I'm going to order a couple grand worth of fucking collared shirts. Can you give me a code to give me 20% off? Like, okay. But to me, stuff like that, and I think
last time I talked business with this guy, he was doing a $20 million real estate deal.
What you get, I'd say, over the 30-year-old threshold, and you have a job, you got to pay for things on your own. Honestly, sometimes if I take my mom out to dinner, like she's got her own money, like she got a good retirement. It's like you got to pay. It's part of being an adult. She paid for me for a lot of years.
Yeah, I understand. Totally.
I don't have to do it.
Plus, it feels good to get stuff for your parents sometimes if you can.
Well, exactly.
My dad and my grandpa used to always, every time the bill came, and I never, as a kid, I never understood it. I'm like, what are these two? Why are they? They were always trying to like get to the waitress before she got to the table. It was hilarious. I never quite understood it, but I do now. As a kid, you didn't understand it, but now I get it.
It's an alpha ego move.
Yeah. The move now, I remember I saw, was it Seinfeld told the story one time? He called a restaurant the day before and put the credit card in before the lunch. So by the time lunch came, the credit card was already on file. I love that move.
Yeah. That's a smart move. That's a good, if you're trying to land some business, that'd be a sweet, or like a date.
Yeah, or the second you walk in, you just hand the card. You know what I mean? No one's even going to notice that.
Was it Seinfeld, or it was definitely a show where the guy had told him, pretend I'm a regular, and they come up like, oh, Mr. Middlekauff, good to see you again. It makes you feel. Maybe it was Larry David. I forget the show, but it was a good move. That's
fantastic. All right, we got to get to Deebo Samuel. Before we do that, John, let's tell the people about our friends at Sleep Number. SleepNumber.com/ham. SleepNumber.com/ham. Sleepers who use their Sleep Number 360 smart bed features get almost 100 more hours of proven quality sleep per year. Discover special offers now for a limited time at your local Sleep Number store. SleepNumber.com/ham.
Yep, guy. The key is don't eat right before bed. Turn those devices, those iPads, those cellular phones. Do you ever turn at night? The brightness, the power all the way down.
I also
do. Actually, I'm reading my phone at 10 o'clock at night in my bed, but it's not actually triggering my brain.
I also do the sleep sometimes, so it doesn't. You have to call me twice for a call to go through, or not that anyone calls me at 11 p.m., or a text. Like an 11 p.m. text. Unless you're on my favorites list, it doesn't come through.
Wow, you're trying to get a good night's quality sleep in a SleepNumber.com/ham bed. And that's what you should all do right now. Discover special offers now for a limited time at your local Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com/ham. Sleep Number, proven sleep is life-changing. Guy and I can both attest.
John, what are you sleeping on these days?
40.
40. I'm on a 55, a little firmer. But either way, I did my trick on Wednesday night, John. Brushed my teeth right after dinner. Next thing I know, it's 8:30 p.m. I'm doing some heavy research for my DraftKings lineup, feeling a little snacky, as tends to happen to me in the evening. Get a little snacky feeling. And I'd already brushed and flossed, and so snack was out. Better sleep was on deck. Genius. Sleep Number. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. All right, John. Here we go. This is an NFL story. Sequence of events. I think this is the sequence of events. It started on Pat. I think the sequence could be a little off, but here are the relevant issues from Thursday. Peter Schrager on Pat McAfee.
Yeah, and I think the Niners, they don't give money out, and Kittle had to wait, and other guys had to wait, and Jimmy's still on the salary cap right now for $25 million. So I don't think Deebo's getting it. Just like I said with Kyler, they're not getting it when they want it. They're going to get it when the team wants it.
Okay. Then I see Grant Cohn. Deebo Samuel just changed his profile picture on Instagram. It's now blank. Used to be him wearing a Niner jersey. If you go back
and
to
I
this
think
image,
the Niners they
you can
don't
see
give
up
money
there
out, and Kittle had to wait.
when it was
Another guy
McAfee show
Jimmy's
that
still on the
Deebo's
salary cap
image on
right now
Instagram
for
was
25
still
million.
a picture of
I don't
Deebo
think Deebo's
in a
getting it. Just like I said
49er
with Kyler, they're not getting it
uniform.
when they want it. They're going to
But
get it when he wants
So you think Deebo was watching McAfee's YouTube?
And now it looks like this, a black circle where his Niner dressed body used to be.
I'm going to sound like Old Man River, and I'm someone who, I'm sure like you and like many people listening, love Instagram. I like Instagram. It's my favorite app of all the social media apps, by far, not even a close second. It's very enjoyable. I think the scrubbing of the Instagram, as Kyler Murray did, and then he pivoted, and I think he's back, and as Deebo Samuel today, Murray strategy, not of but the move when you're mad about Instagram is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Is absolutely moronic. Doesn't make any sense. It has zero impact on anything related to how much money you're going to get. Do you agree?
I 1,000,000% agree. I 1,000,000% agree. John Lynch should not go running down the office to Kyle Shanahan and go, we got to get this done now. Right?
No. John Lynch is not on Instagram. Kyle Shanahan is not on Instagram. Now, it creates a fun story for the people that are on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and everyone's talking about it. But it has zero impact. And I mean absolutely zero impact on anything. Now, I get he's different, he's a decade younger than us. And I get being mad. Like, I've been in situations, and you have too, when, it's probably different actually, because I'm sure Deebo respects John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan a lot. It's different when you don't respect the people you're negotiating with. But it's human nature to think you're worth more than you're being offered, because I think it's fair to say that there are some offers out there for him from the Niners, and they're probably pretty low relative to, because he had a tweet yesterday when it got announced that Diggs got like $70 million, was like, I think he thinks, and I understand, because the last 8 games is the only thing in his mind. I carried this franchise to the playoffs. And he did. I mean, his quarterback was atrocious, was injured, and he literally turned into a running back and a wide receiver and carried the franchise to the playoffs. But that doesn't encapsulate his entire career. Just a year ago, he showed up fat, and he got injured. Like, Deebo, paying you is for the whole picture, and then moving forward, too. Like, you've been injured just a year ago. Now, you were a team leader this year, a team captain, and everyone loves you. But it's not just a no-brainer to give him $70 million. Stephon Diggs, as we talked about yesterday on the live stream, has 230 catches these last 2 years, and then in 2018 had a 100-catch season. So 3 of his last 4 years, like, he's been doing it, and he's less accomplished than the other 2 guys that got big money. But their resumes are just long and distinguished. Deebo's really is like a 10-game stretch, and then the playoffs, which was awesome. But, like, Tyreek Hill's had 50-game stretches. Stephon Diggs has been doing it for multiple franchises. I was at the Minnesota Vikings game. The only touchdown they scored against the Niners in the playoff game was him. And then he goes to Buffalo, and boom, what's he immediately? Josh's best receiver by a mile. And one of the best, 1-2 combinations with his quarterback in the league for a long period of time. I think Deebo has the worst argument out of all the guys. Out of the 3 guys that signed and the 3 guys left, DK and AJ.
Yeah. It's definitely, probably the most complicated. Maybe that also means worst, right? It's complicated because you can't say to him, you haven't put it together. Because when he did finally put it together, it was so incredible, right? They asked him to do so much, and he did it. He's, like you said, he took them to the playoffs. He saved their season, John. He saved their season, right?
But I don't even think the Niners would argue that.
No,
would they?
No, they wouldn't. They just want him to do it again. Now, the reality is this is not really about Instagram. It's about Deebo displaying his displeasure. When Kyler did it, we went, yeah, okay. We've watched Kyler for a few years now. His body language sucks. Nobody thinks he's a team leader. It's different with Deebo. Deebo's body language is the opposite of sucks. Deebo's effort is never questioned. Unlike Kyler, Deebo carried his team to the playoffs. In big games, he showed up in the biggest moments and is a team leader. I mean, he's the first guy shoulder to shoulder with Trent Williams. And it's not about so much, does he delete Instagram? What does it mean? It's about, is there about to be a contentious relationship between the 49ers and one of their most important players, right? Inarguably one of their most important players. We could argue maybe he is their most important player. And that's what it represents. Now, holdouts, as you've pointed out before, they don't really, he's on a rookie contract. The holdout cost him $40,000 a day. Like, that's a lot of money. So a hold in might be on the table. And we've debated it because it's not really the way things go for the 49ers. I think it's good that it happens in April, but it is now something to watch, not because Instagram means anything, but because it represents how the 49ers most important player maybe feels right now, which is unhappy, right? Go back to what Schrager said. Just Deebo's unhappy. You want your star player to be happy.
But I would say contract negotiations in basketball, the contracts are basically slotted. So you just know how much you owe a guy, right? Based on if they're a max guy, based on, their previous history. In baseball and in football, now in football, there's a salary cap, and in baseball, there isn't one. But I would say that two pretty consistently have contract negotiations that get hairy.
Yeah.
That get uncomfortable. Because the majority of players, I would say quarterbacks, and then a small percentage of like Trent Williams, Myles Garrett's, Khalil Mack's, are just an uncomfortable conversation. And I think Deebo is an uncomfortable conversation. And that's okay. The NFL is an uncomfortable place. It just is. And his resume is very, very unique. It's short. I think that's the main problem. It's short. And I think it's much easier to break off a guy when the resume is long. If he had done this for 2.5 years, the Niners wouldn't really have any leg to stand on. But I think they do. And I'm just naturally going to be like, because I just come through it from the lens of how are they talking about internally, what, and I understand, like, I think they have a lot of valid arguments to be like, Deebo will offer you $52 million guaranteed. And he's freaking the fuck out. Because in fairness to him, everything is their own truth. He goes, what? I'm every bit as good as those guys. And in a vacuum, Deebo, you are. They've just been doing it way longer.
Right. And I think
that matters.
Like, if Deebo Samuel had the year that he just had again this year, then there would be really not much debate. He'd become one of the highest paid receivers in the NFL. Right? He might become the highest paid receiver in the NFL.
But I think part of it is like, Deebo, for you to be worth $75 million, one of your greatest attributes is you're a running back. But running backs don't last and they don't get paid. And when they do get paid, that team is immediately criticized by fans and by other teams as being idiots, right? Well, a player like Diggs or Devontae or even Tyreek, who's had some lately, he's had some hammies, but A.J. Brown would be a good example. Their only way to succeed is outside catching the ball. And they are just less likely to get taken out by D tackles and linebackers. So it's just like A.J. Brown or Devontae can just have a 12-year career like a lot of wide receivers have. Like, even in our lifetime, right, when we were kids, a lot of outside wide receivers had long careers. Like, they weren't 7-year guys. A lot of them. Think how many wide receivers when we were kids just played at, if they were good, 12, 13, 14, like had an NBA level career. Well, running backs, like, they were kind of outliers if you made it 10.
That's
right?
the problem, is the way that he played last year is not the way you want him to play every year.
But it's not, and it's also not sustainable, right?
And it's not sustainable, but him having that pitch, right? You don't want him to throw that pitch 8 times a game like he had to, but him having that ability that Kyle Shanahan can use in key spots does make him pretty uniquely valuable for Kyle.
Yeah, it's crazy because he had 77 catches and 1,400 yards receiving because he is, and his other great quality is once the ball is in his hand, even on short passes.
Right.
How many quick screens did he take to the house last year? A minimum a couple. Like, and they weren't 40 yards. They were like 60, 70 yards.
And here's the other thing I think he would argue. There's a part of me that you haven't seen yet because the quarterback I've been playing with can't really play. I know you guys don't look at me like a downfield outside receiver, but I can be a downfield threat if we have an offense that would allow me to be that, right?
I think the Niners would be uncomfortable giving him like $60 million guaranteed. But do you think if they put that on the table, he's turning that down? All three other, I guess Devontae got 67. The other two guys got 70 and 72.
They put him at fourth, right? It's hard to say no to $60 million.
But what if we did like a 4-year, what if it was basically 4 years, $100 million and 60 guaranteed? So you get that high, average per year that the guys love, but it's really the 60 guaranteed is what matters.
Yeah.
So it's essentially like a 2.5. You're stuck with, you're in bed with them now for a couple more years.
If I were him, I would take that, right? And I'd go, then I can get another contract. Also, right? This is not Devontae Adams' first contract.
No, it's his third.
So you do a contract now.
So it's Diggs' third and it's Tyreek's third. All
set
three
yourself
of their
up for the
third
next
contract. All three guys signed contract extensions at 28 and 29 years old.
So you would take 60 if you were Deebo?
I just think the 49ers would probably be uncomfortable around that range.
Yeah.
I bet their number when they first came to him, why he's really
51.
I could see it being in the high 40s.
$1 less than Kittle. Jace, thank you, Jace, says, if Deebo wants 27 mil a year like Hill, Adams, and Diggs just got, I wouldn't be mad if we got a trade like KC did. A 1, a 2, and 3 more picks. Bosa's a bigger priority, in my opinion. Thoughts?
Well, let's say, did you see, again, it was Howard Eskin put it out there, that the Jets had offered pick 10 for DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
It was his report. So it's like, he's the Eagles sideline report. You just never know. But let's just say that's true. And it basically Seattle said no. The Jets feel desperate for a wide receiver. Now, if I was the Jets, I would just rather have Olave or Garrett Wilson at a rookie contract just at pick 10 than to trade for DK Metcalf. Or let's say, would the Niners for pick 10 and an extra second-round pick, because pick 10 is worth a lot more than the 22 and 29, like all these picks that got traded for all these sweet wide receivers. Because the Jets would be like, okay, we'll give you pick 10 for Deebo, which is worth basically what? Pick 22 and 28? Like, it's worth a lot. Would you do that? Because to me, I'd say
if I were the Niners, would I do that?
Because
saying?
I don't. We've just seen it with Kinlaw. In theory, you're like, well, I'll just get Garrett Wilson will be like Justin Jefferson, and then he's not, and you're like, oh, I'm screwed.
I look at it also. This part of having Deebo Samuel, whatever you pay Deebo, was partly an investment in Trey Lance. Like, you need Trey Lance to work, and the best way to help Trey Lance work is to protect him and get him weapons. Well, he has one of the most unique.
If you had pick 10, though, you could get one of the 2 Ohio State guys, probably.
Yeah, but it's as sure as you feel about a guy, are you as sure about that guy as you are about Deebo?
No, well, you couldn't. It's impossible to be.
Right. So I got to go with Deebo right now. I am at a franchise fork in the road right here. Like, for the next 15 years, if this quarterback is just good, I'm in great shape. So I need this to work right now. And I think it's probably where Deebo thinks his leverage is too, right? Is you guys need me so bad, just like you needed me before. You needed me before too to win games, but now you need me to help you look good in addition to win games.
I think one thing going up against Deebo is he came into camp out of shape just 2 years ago. Yeah, like that's just it. We've seen it, Deebo, and now we're going to give you a ton of money. Because essentially, when you're not a first round pick, that third year for you. Well, it's not your free agent year. It kind of is, right? You go nuts, you can get paid. So it's like, yeah, you double down on this year. But is this really you? And you're a team leader. You're a great guy. I mean, this year was awesome. But the previous year, you were up there in the suite with Jimmy, eating popcorn and watching shit with everybody else. Like, ultimately, Trent Williams, when they paid Trent Williams all that money, he had a decade worth of film of like, I'm an all-pro every year I play. Yeah. It's like, yeah. Right? It's like if I pay like Jalen Ramsey every time I play, I'm usually the best DB on the field. It's like my entire career. Like, Deebo, you had a 10-game stretch where you were the best player on the field. 10 games, and it was fucking awesome.
One of the best players in the league.
Dominating. Right? But like the Cowboys.
It was like Buddy. It was like Jimmer in the tournament.
Like, would you feel great giving Micah Parsons, if you could, after 1 year, $150 million? No. But if he does what he just did for 3 years, you'll have no problem. Like, your resume in football, how long you do something, and in pro sports, and I just say in life, matters, right? I mean, it's part of the way it works. And as a young person, because I remember getting worked up in radio thinking we were worth more, but like looking back, like, I'd only been there, hadn't been there that long, haven't been doing it that long. Like there's a huge risk factor on both sides. That's why this negotiation to me of the three of them, DK and AJ Brown, DK has obviously just because the quarterback situation, who knows, but to me, AJ Brown's pretty black and white. Like he's just going to get a big contract. And
there's not. If I said to you, John, what is AJ Brown? There's really not much question about what AJ Brown is. If I said to you, what are any of these guys? There's not much question, right? What is Tyreek? What is Diggs? There's not any question. Even Justin Jefferson has now back-to-back years been incredible, right? There's not much question. Deebo, you go, well, when he's healthy, I know what he is. When he's in shape and healthy, I know what he is. Right. And if he's that again, then he is going to get broken off by the 49ers.
Well, to me, if you're going to do the deal, though, you wouldn't want him to, like, let's say he'd be like, well, I'll just play out this year and then try to sign a huge contract. I think you'd want to sign him right now. Right?
Well, you're kind of caught. Like, you'd want to sign him right now if I told you he's healthy and has the same year again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess he could get injured and then you're stuck.
But you're right. Like,
that's part of the risk of football.
Is it worth saving 25? What's he gonna, if he has that year again, what's he gonna cost next year? Guaranteed.
Yeah. Then he just has the argument of whatever the new threshold is. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but it hasn't gone up that. Maybe 75.
75. And what would he take this year, you think? What's the minimum he would take?
Well, he's acting like a tough guy on social media, so I don't know.
Yeah, so what's the most you can save, I guess is what I'm asking if you're the Niners. Would he take 60 and you in the end you save 15 guaranteed?
Yeah, does he end up taking 56? That's my question.
Well, he's not taking it in April. He might take it in September, though.
Yeah.
He's not taking 56 in April. That much I know, right? You agree with that?
Well, do you feel for the first time it's like, we'll see, is he going to come to the offseason?
Yeah. You can't get fined for you don't get fined for that.
Only the mandatory minicamp he would get fined. And again, that's one you can yank it out. It's not nothing with Trey, right?
Well, you can still go back and credit their account. I thought now it's just a mandatory NFL fine.
For the training camp, mandatory minicamp, I think is a deal. But I mean, mandatory minicamp, if you're not excused absence, you holding out is a finable offense.
Yeah.
But like Brady and Rodgers and those guys, they haven't been going for years and nothing happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is this the new world for the 49ers now? We'll see what happens with Bosa. I think we kind of assume, and you've said like the Bosa one is easy because he's been the level of player that he's been. The Trent Williams one was easy because of the relationship, but really he was a free agent. The market dictated what you had to pay Trent, right? But the Niners, their own guys, they got away with, would you agree? It's fair to say they got away with the Kittle contract? Not that Kittle got screwed, but just that went well for the 49ers. Like they did that the way they wanted to do it.
I think two of their better players, they broke off Fred last year too, and I know he kind of had a down year.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you say just the price of middle linebackers and the price of tight ends just is not the price of tackles, quarterbacks, and pass rushers?
Yeah.
It's just pretty good price points. It's just you get to bargain shop for elite players.
Yeah, so I guess the question is like, is this going to be is this going to be the position they're in with Bosa? Is this going to be the position that they put themselves in a lot if they get a player who just happens to be playing a position where the market is going bonkers, like the receiver market is?
Yeah, I mean the Kittle thing, it didn't really get that weird.
No,
Jimmy thing they handled that one pretty seamlessly. I would say, though, the 49ers are not – I don't ever remember them groundbreaking contracts. I think they honestly want – I mean, I'm not talking about on the field and the success. I'm just saying the way financially they operate their franchise is very Belichickian. I mean, they're trying to get under market deals, extend guys early. Howie does a lot of this, extend guys early. Now, they had success for a long period of time with the Bowmans, the Staley, the Frank Gores, Patrick Willis's. It has become a little more difficult now with the astronomical salaries. Because, when Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman are getting $40 million extensions in 2010 or 11 or 12, it didn't feel as contentious if you were willing to kind of pay near market value. Now it's like these guys get very offended if they're not the top because the money is so crazy that it's kind of got a baseball feel to it right now, doesn't it? in terms of the contracts, with the guys getting kind of like offended. And again, it's always, been a little touch and go with contracts in baseball and football, but it does feel right now with the markers are now set and I got to eclipse the marker and it gets ugly quick. I don't know. I do think that the 49ers are not just out here willy-nilly in it. Like, for example, the Von Miller contract, like I bet they laugh at stuff like that because Bill Belichick would. A lot of teams would. Like we wouldn't do that because we wouldn't do a deal out of desperation. I do think it gets to be a slippery slope with your own guys who you care about. Like ultimately the 49ers care and value Deebo Samuel. They care and valued Fred Warner and George Kittle and immediately Trent Williams, and just like they did with Joe Staley when he was here, and now I think Nick Bosa, right? There's the core guys that they like are their type guys, and they're able to, and this is part of business, being able to separate your emotions and doing business. Because ultimately their job is to get you for as cheap as humanly possible, right? That's John's, Parag's, Kyle's. The cheaper I can get you, the more other players I can get. And your prerogative as a player, just like with a lot of, why did so many guys leave Belichick over the years? Not because they probably didn't want to keep winning Super Bowls. Like you listen to that book or you hear guys talk, it's like, well, I knew they weren't going to pay me that, right? I remember playing golf with Shane Vereen. He's like, I called back saying we wanted me, but they just would not go to this offer.
Yeah.
Because Bill was the most unemotional, like, my final offer's $4 million. And he's like, well, they're paying me 5.2. Will you just hit 4.7? No! And most human beings, right? I mean, it's just hard. You get emotional. It's easy to be like, oh, shit, I'll just pay. He never would. Now, the Niners, I'm not saying are going to be that strict. I would say he's the strictest, right? Never budged. They feel like they have a little more wiggle room, but they are less likely to just start unloading just bags of money. There's a frugal element to them. There just is.
You're right. It's a really interesting test case for the Niners because, somebody said Bosa's going to be the highest paid. Yeah, but Bosa's going to, when Nick Bosa signs his contract, it'll make him the highest paid pass rusher.
But don't you think it's easier? Because I would say, obviously, quarterbacks are in their own category. The next two positions, if you have a star tackle or a star pass rusher, they're not quarterbacks, but they're closer to like beachfront property than like in Stockton.
Yeah.
They're pretty valuable. And the Chargers, who are notoriously stingy and frugal, like gave Joey. It's just
I do think it's business. I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like I think the Deebo's an interesting test case because George Kittle just happens to play tight end. Sucks for George Kittle, but it's good for negotiations for the 49ers, right?
Well, Jimmy, why is Travis Kelce probably going to retire a Chief and Tyreek Hill did not? It's way easier to keep Travis Kelce.
Yeah. Deebo happens to be their best player. Like it's not like Deebo plays receiver and then is inflated like Christian Kirk. I mean, he is clearly one of their best players and plays a position where the salaries are massive. So,
well, if Deebo would have been a free agent, and this is the problem, this is why they keep telling themselves. Yeah, but he would have got.
I think maybe
he would have got. He would have just got so much money, it would have been stupid, right? I mean, he would have just got an astronomical amount of money.
He'd be the highest paid receiver in the league.
Yeah. Someone would have given him, because the bidding on him would have been crazy, because there would have been 3 or 4 teams
Dolphins,
trying to sign him. The Jets, obviously the Jags, the Colts. I mean, there would have been so many teams trying to sign him.
Yeah.
The Browns had cap space. Who knows? Maybe they just like, let's just pay instead of Mari. Let's just pay him.
The Rams would have found a way.
Yeah, the Rams ended up signing him to the biggest deal ever.
Like somebody said, I'd rather have Drake London. Well, I mean, I like Drake London. Drake London had one great year at USC and got hurt that year.
But you see, we talk about the Belichickian way. If you do love a couple guys as a wide receiver, if they would discuss pick 10 and like a 2 and a 3, you could talk yourself into it pretty quick.
Really quickly. Well, like I've seen a few mock drafts with Jamison Williams going to the Chiefs, right? It'll be interesting to see, do the Chiefs draft a receiver? And if they do, if he's, what percent of Tyreek would he be for them?
When the 49ers made the trade for DeForest Buckner, wouldn't you imagine they had a pretty good grade at the time on Javon Kinlaw? And they felt pretty good, like, we'll be able to replace this guy with a much cheaper option.
Yeah.
and they just got burned.
And it was never about be 100% of DeForest Buckner. It was like if he can just be 88% of DeForest Buckner.
And no matter how great his workouts that he's putting on Instagram in the back of the facility,
better than no workouts.
It has been a disaster through 2 years. So it's just a learning experience to like. I say this all the time about the draft. Every single draft room right now, they're probably in the middle of meetings, the entire league. You are having these discussions on players. Drake London, like there are going to be guys in draft room that like him. There are going to be guys that think he's slow. There are going to be guys like, well, he's already been injured. If he gets injured, he's already, not the fastest player. The takes are all over the place. But in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be like, how did Drake London last till 34? Or can you believe they fucking drafted Drake London at 9? What a disaster that pick is. But right now, the information you have is just your take as a building on that guy. And then it dramatically changes. Like ultimately, there were a lot of people in the league that probably thought not that high on Justin Jefferson. Because it's pretty clear that if anyone would have known Justin Jefferson would have been that freaking good, I'd have to go back and look at that draft, but how does he not last past the 5th pick? I mean, it's just, he is dramatically better than the entire league thought. Even Minnesota would have to tell you, yeah, we thought he was good. We didn't know he was this good, right?
Yeah.
So the draft is just such a crapshoot. Deebo, for 2 years, like, this Deebo guy's pretty cool. Like, he's sweet. And then this year he turns into, like, I don't even know what that was. We'd never seen it. But no one had. I mean, everyone's like, what is this? You're like, yeah, it's just the sweetest player I've ever seen. But it happened in year 3, about halfway through the season.
Right. The crazy part of it, too, is part of you is like, well, I hope he doesn't have to do all that stuff again. But that stuff is what makes him now pretty hard to value, right? You hope he doesn't have to carry 9 times a game. That'd be.
I guess my point is, I gave the 49ers a lot of credit. I'm like, DeForest Buckner for pick 13. Now, Deebo is what we just witnessed was better than anything DeForest was with the Niners, but it's like, well, you get pick 10, pick 50, and then next year second. It'd be easy. You can just, with draft picks and the potential, you can talk yourself into it, and then they miss and you're screwed.
Well, like you always, that 10th pick, you've always said this, and you're right, becomes a player, right? And then when it's a player, the question is, would you trade that player for that player? So that pick becomes Garrett Wilson. Okay, would you trade in a year? Will you look back and go, Garrett Wilson for Deebo and a couple other picks, not crazy? Because the reality is, like, Deebo's value is such that I don't think you're not in great shape if you get 80% of Deebo and then some other help, some other places. Like, we got a nickel with the other pick and a right guard with the other pick. It's like, okay, but you had that game-breaking receiver who single-handedly beat the Rams in a must-win game to get into the playoffs. So 80% of that guy, you know what I mean? Like they got balance is not their issue. They need a guard. They need somebody. Star game-breaking playmaker is the issue, and they have one, and he knows it.
But wouldn't you say 1 point of difference for them in these big games, the years that they won all the playoff games, 2 this year and I guess 2-3 years ago, was high-end talent? Because a lot of people, once you get to the playoffs, a lot of people have like functional starters here and there. But like, what did the Cowboys lack? Micah Parsons was sweet, but like, CD was a little off. They just didn't have the high-end guys. The Green Bay game, it was like Rodgers and Devontae. But it's like, where's everyone else? The Niners had like 5 or 6 guys that were like, they're Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, I mean, what the saying, like, you don't get to take your timeouts with you into the locker room?
I love that saying.
I love that saying. If you're going to save money on Deebo, then what are you spending it on then? Could you imagine a world in which Deebo gets traded and Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the roster? I don't want to live in that world, John.
I don't either.
I don't want to do live streams in that world. I mean, we would, but it'd be warfare. I mean, it would.
The Deebo traded pod and videos they'd pop.
Yeah, maybe I should keep my phone off of sleep mode when I go to bed in case that I don't want to miss. I think we could do that video at 2 a.m. Pacific, and it would do big numbers.
I do think that's one that, while it's been short-lived, Deebo immediately became like, part of it is just the power of the Niners, the fan base. He became like a Steph or Clay quick. It's like, we love this guy.
Well, there's something about being if a fan base, if a guy is their guy, and then he becomes Like, it's one thing if you're the number one pick and you're just a star. It's another thing if you're kind of Steph, you acquire the chip on the shoulder that the player has. No one believes in Steph. He becomes a star. Then it becomes, if I'm a Steph fan, no one believed in me either. And look at what we did together, me and Steph.
Well,
that's a powerful thing, man.
And I think part of it, too, is like, one thing I think you see Kyrie, like, got into it with a fan in New York. It's just like, why is this guy always so, like, what is, just relax. I think this Tiger's really turned into this. Now, Tiger was so good when he was young. It didn't matter if he was an asshole or whatever. But now when you watch Tiger, you're like, God, he's pretty likable. Like, he's always smiling. There was a quality to Deebo. It's like, God damn, this guy's friendly. He's always smiling and having the time of his life. He's so happy. Like, why is he so happy? Steph had that quality. Like, he's just happy. There's something to a happy player. Like, Mahomes, how happy until, like, that Cincinnati second half. The majority of his career, he's like the best player in the league. And it's like, God, he's having so much fun. Favre had that quality. You can't get rid of sweet players who are happy because you know who they resonate with? Everyone. The hardcore fans, the casual fans, like, I love that.
The 8-year-olds who just turned on the game for the first time. His name's Deebo, for crying out loud. Like, he's perfect.
Just sweet.
Yeah. Okay, let's tell the people real quick about our friends at Indeed. Indeed.com/ham. If you need to hire John, you need Indeed. Right now, go to Indeed.com/ham for a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post.
Yeah, if you're a hiring guy, you need Indeed because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in the same place. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites, hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all, guy. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. So here's the key. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ham. Offer valid through April 30th. It's April 7th, so you got a little time. Go to Indeed.com/ham to claim your $75 job credit before April 30th. Indeed.com/ham.
Indeed.com/ham. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right.
I just have a text. My brother is complaining about getting dragged around by his wife.
To do stuff, like run some errands?
Yeah, he's like, I had to do this, and I ended up at Costco, and then it's like,
He's just texting you from, like, the passenger seat of the car?
Group text, so I get the collateral damage.
John, how about this story? Remember Tom Brady was going to be a 49er? I do. It was one of my favorite stories. And then somewhere along the way in late February, Florio had an article that said, well, Brady could become a minority owner in the Dolphins and play for the Dolphins. And I remember I kind of dismissed it like, this is stupid. And somebody DM'd me and they said, I recommend you look into Bruce Beal, Brady's boy, who's always there at the Kentucky Derby parties. Florio wrote today that the plan was for Brady to retire, for the Dolphins to get Sean Payton, for Brady to become a minority owner in the Dolphins, and then for Brady to get basically traded from the Bucs to the Dolphins and become the Dolphins quarterback.
There's a lot going on here, guy.
Oh,
there's a lot going on. One thing I think it's fair to surmise, I don't think he was ever going to be a 49er. I don't know if it's his bitterness when Kyle denied him. I don't know if it's that ship had sailed. My gut says these 2 years in Florida, one thing he realized, I'm never leaving. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to build the business here. I'm going to be, obviously, I played here. You make zero income tax. Now, the 49er thing is unique with his family, but part of the reason he wanted to stay on the East Coast, right, was because the son that lives in New York City. I wonder, if you had to ask me where's Tom Brady living in a decade, I bet he lives in Florida. And so to me, the combination of the Miami thing, I don't know if there are rules you can play and own the team, how that's all going to work. But clearly, like you said, with this Beal guy, they're buddies. He's the succession plan for Stephen Ross. But to me, it's more about like Tom Brady, to me, feels like a Florida guy the rest of his life.
I don't think there's any question about that. I agree with you.
Don't you think he's living in Florida like Tiger or all these guys like the rest of his life?
He's there now. Like I don't think he's going anywhere. I'm with you. The question is like, isn't there some salary cap circumvention going on if you're a part owner of the team and a player on the team? right? They would have had to figure some things out. Now,
Yes, he get a dividend. I mean, how's that working?
it seems to me like it could be a little sketchy, but going to the league meetings, owners photo next to Belichick. He shows up, Belichick doesn't.
Tom's on the field pregame. He's like, Bill, all those suites sold out. I was like, what's going on here?
I don't it makes me wonder if the Niners thing was ever something. Now, you and I talked about it a lot. Clearly, with hindsight now, we can say very clearly Tom was never fully committed to retiring. The question is, did he retire when he didn't want to retire and then just changed his mind and came back? Or did he retire as part of some plot? And what Florio's kind of saying is he retired as part of some plot. And I bought into the conspiracy theory that he retired as part of some plot pretty early, but I thought the plot was come play for the 49ers. The plot was it was not about the Niners this whole time. It was not about the Niners. It was about the Dolphins.
You'd think. I mean, maybe he was just going to go to retire, because what if Tampa wouldn't have to me, trading him to the Dolphins after he gets ownership, that might get a little dicey.
I agree. I don't think Tampa really had much choice in anything. I know Bruce Arians talked tough at the Combine right before he retired, but like if Tom Brady wanted to play for somebody else, I think the Bucs would have had to allow
But is there
that.
a chance he did want to play for someone else and they wouldn't let him? They said, like, we're not just going to facilitate this.
Yeah, there's definitely that chance. I do
Why
think
is
if
he,
Tom,
why is he still on the Bucs? Like he didn't want to play for Mike McDaniel?
just the Dolphins ownership deal never came together for whatever reason, or the league told him we're not going to let you do that. You want to become a Dolphins owner, you can do it after you're done playing.
Would be pretty shady if he was playing and owned a piece of the team.
It'd be very weird. Again, there's got to be some salary cap violation there.
But they would take his. He was under contract. They would have acquired his contract.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, I am circumventing the salary cap. If you're making money, how do I measure how much money you're making from the team separate from your contract?
Maybe you're just not allowed to take a dividend until you're done playing. I don't know.
Do you have to cut your own guarantee check?
I would push back.
Maybe it was not that the Bucs said no. Maybe it was that the Saints said no. You're not getting Sean Payton.
Yeah, and then he's not going to play for Mike McDaniel.
Which to me, like, play for Mike McDaniel. What the hell? If you want to be the Dolphins quarterback.
Yeah, but part of Tom, like, you can't risk Mike McDaniel not knowing what he's doing.
Yeah, no, I know.
Right.
I know. So you hear the story and you think it was still possible that the Niners were part of his thought process?
I do not.
Yeah. Okay. So we're on the same page.
I think he was staying. I think he went to Florida, liked it a lot. I know a lot of like the California elites think Florida's a dump. Where these guys live, it's clearly not. Because these guys from California all go there and fucking love it. And when you're super wealthy, you don't pay any taxes. It's very cheap. And then, like, I was talking to my accountant, because I was talking to him, like, how much would I save if I lived in Vegas or Florida? And he's like, it's not even just the income tax. It's all the other taxes that you pay when you're there. It all adds up. So, and him, like, a big part of his life is running the business. Where do you think TB12 is eventually going to be based out of? Like, I think it's just his whole plan is like a lifestyle business plan till he dies, right? The Brady brand, the TB12, like he's trying to build companies. Whether it's
the money he leaves to his kids. I don't know how that, what the state variations are there, but
I just mean like him just being able to operate. Clearly, he's boys with that Beal guy, Jimmy Dunn, the golf guy that plays in that Pro-Am with him. Like, they're all located down there. Maybe that's just his circle. Like, who does Tom hang out with? 68-year-old rich white guys. I mean, he ain't hanging out with like the 23-year-old wide receiver on his team. He's hanging out with those guys.
Yeah. Also, Tom can get to Pebble Beach in the amount of time it takes him to call the pilot and fire up the jet, right? Like the world is small at a certain wealth level. Like you can get to wherever you want to go whenever you want to get there.
Still a 5-hour flight. But
I understand, but I'm just saying, like, you can, if he lives in LA or if he lives in Florida going to see his parents, he's got to get on a plane or get in a car.
Yeah, I mean, if me or you hopped in our car right now and wanted to go to Santa Barbara, it would take us the same time to drive there it would be if he hopped in a plane in Tampa Bay to be at his parents' house. Right?
I think you guys are understating that Tampa said no trade. Yeah, maybe I am. I've been adamant this whole time that I don't think Tampa has much say in it, that Tom Brady won them a championship. They owe Tom Brady what Tom Brady wants, but maybe not. Maybe the contract's the contract. No, dude, we have your rights and we're not going to let you do what you want.
I agreed with you when it was coming to the Niners because it was kind of hopeful, but I think that's possible that they were going to make it a little tougher. And it might not. Jason Light might have been cool with it. Arians probably, obviously, doesn't have any. I wonder if the owners were like, owners can be, tough, right?
Yeah. But if Brady was an owner,
he'll be tough. Well, it's like LeBron talking shit about all the owners. He's like, you guys treat the players so shitty. Well, LeBron, once you own a team, you're going to be trading and cutting guys left and right. So it's like,
well, he already does.
Yeah.
It's not going to be pretty.
No,
it's not going to be pretty. We had said, I put in if you're watching the YouTube, you saw a Drake Jackson graphic because he was Barrows had him in a Niners mock draft, right? And we were going to do some Drake Jackson scouting report today, but I think we'll do that next week.
Wasn't Drake Jackson a pretty big recruit?
Yeah, four-star guy. The guy they got last year was the big Corey Foreman, who was a freshman last year, was the major recruit. Didn't have a great year.
Oh, he didn't?
No.
Yeah, blame Clay Helton. That's what everyone else does.
Yeah. Drake Jackson was, he's a major, I think he's from Compton.
Oh, so he's in their backyard.
Yeah, Southern California guy, LA guy.
Same with the guy they landed last year. Is he a Southern California guy?
Yeah, he's a Southern California guy too.
That's a great part.
Centennial Corona for Drake Jackson.
Yeah. It's where Vontaze Burfict and William Sutton went to school.
William Sutton. It's a good
William
poll.
Sutton. Yeah, it is. Arizona State. We got them both.
So, anyway, so we'll get to some of that draft stuff next week. Oh, we got to do a DraftKings update, John. Where do things? I mean, there's still golf being played as we record this, but I'm in 105th.
I gotta be low. My team sucks.
And you are in 143rd. Your brother, Lil Jeff's in 120th.
Well, he had Paul Casey texting me this morning. He withdrew before he even teed off.
Thank God I didn't but he did have Paul Casey. Oh, that's bad. How about Gary Woodland's got you 6 points today?
Gary, what a fucking effort.
So, let's see what's going on. Nope. I'm just looking through a few of the Arians called Tom's bluff. He said until 45. Then he retired. I'm going to make you play here, and then I'm going to retire. Maybe Tom said, all right, fine. The Arians, Tom, conspiracy theories are real.
I don't think Arians had any role, but I do think the owner would. Because imagine if you're the owner, the Glazer, and you just like, I'm going to give him to Miami, he's going to part own. Well, he can eventually do that, but no. Maybe he would have traded him to the Niners because it's 5 hours away, but I'm going to trade him in my own state to this other owner.
When he has it's one thing okay, you're going home to play for the Niners, but what's the difference between the Dolphins and the Bucks, dude?
Yeah, screw you. I do wonder if the Glazer family said no, that's not an option. We'll facilitate you to do some stuff, but this ain't one of them. To Miami, you're going to take all the shine from this pirate ship down there? No, bro.
Yeah.
Stay at Jeter's house. Maybe Jeter's back now because he quit, did he? Or you get fired.
Yeah, Jeter's out, whatever that is.
Jeter's like, Tom, I need my house back. That's Tom's deal to the Glazers. Like, I'm getting booted out of my house, man. I need somewhere to go.
Nothing really fits my needs around here.
You see that house that I lived in? It's like, I can't go down from there, so I need to leave.
It'd be nice to use that Jimmy money to get Ty Matthew, says AP916. Ty Matthew been doing a lot of visits.
Well, LSU he visited. The Saints he visited. LSU, their defensive coordinator that Brian Kelly hired was Andy's linebacker coach. So, I do think it was I bet he was like, Brian, bring this guy. Tyron spent the week hanging out, going to meetings, spring practice. Gave a couple speeches.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was talking to a buddy of mine who's like a recruiting guy at one of the Pac-12 schools. And I was like, hey, if I swing by, can I see, do you guys have the 360 photograph thing like that Brian Kelly did? He's like, yeah, we've got it. We took it down though. And I was like, anybody doing the Brian Kelly? He's like, dude, I've heard the Brian Kelly joke. Every single person that walks in to check this thing out or to do it, somebody makes the Brian Kelly joke. And I was like, kind of genius by Brian. Like his name is on everybody's lips in every building around America.
I don't get what it is. So it's a circular thing.
I don't know if the camera move. I think maybe the camera moves. I don't know if the the thing you stand on spins or if the camera spins. I get the feeling the camera spins, but it gives you like this 360. You know what I'm talking about, right? The
Yeah,
Brian
yeah,
Kelly.
yeah.
I don't even know exactly what it is or what the attraction is.
Oh yeah,
but
because
it
they
looks
see the
sweet.
back, so you probably don't move. You do some moves, and the camera moves.
Yeah, and the camera moves around you. But Brian Kelly's getting his name mentioned in every college football building during recruiting period in America just because of that video. So maybe it was all part of his plot.
It's working. He's gonna be good.
All right. On that note,
Adios. Have a great
Later.
weekend, everybody.